we'll get started with the 3D breath. If you like to have a pillow underneath your head on your back, and you could have a blanket if you want to feel cozy for today's flaming hot garbage feeling day. I just love that phrase, flaming hot garbage. Starting in a neutral or a central spine, and legs can be wherever's comfortable. Once you're down on the floor, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze, and we'll just stay in each spinal position for a few rounds of breath. And your goal here is simply to feel as you breathe, where is there a sensation of pressure or compression in the rib cage. 3D breathing is trying to get expansion in 3 dimensions into the rib cage, forward, out to the side, and to the back. So if we can, to get as much breath as our lungs need, or movement as our ribs need, and the muscles between the ribs, aren't expanding and contracting to their full range of motion, then the muscles of the shoulders and the neck tend to engage more than they need to. So here, you're just softening with your body into the floor. And I like to have my hands on my lower ribs so that as I inhale and exhale through the nose, you can just feel the ribs and the torso moving underneath my hands. Now, you might not necessarily feel anything moving yourself. That's fine. Notice if you feel any change in pressure on the back of your ribs, maybe the sides of the ribs, or somewhere else. Maybe you do feel your neck and your shoulders engaging. And if you do, gently draw your awareness there and think of softening, letting those muscles just melt a little bit, encouraging them to relax. All right, one more breath here. And then we're going to move into a flexed spine position. So there's a couple of options for this. You could do a child's pose. So flexed spine is a rounded spine, like your cat position. So you could do child's pose, which is knees wide. You just want to make sure your head and your back are relaxed down. You could have a little pillow between your heels and your bottom so that everything can soften down. Another option is a seated position, having your legs support you, maybe having a little pillow or something between your knees. And then you're just rounding your spine forward. So find whatever comfortable position you can for a flexed spine. Here, you want your head supported, your neck supported, so that you can focus on your breath. And then you're softly breathing in and out through the nose. And you'll notice you're a little more compressed in the front of the body, a little more open in the back of the body. Notice here again if the shoulders want to engage as you breathe. And you're melting, letting them melt and soften. Inviting the inhale in. Because we're a little more open in the back, we're working on directing the breath a little bit more into that openness in the back. since we have a little less room in the front. And then don't forget about the sides. So the sides of the rib cage can expand as well. And a few more rounds of breath. And if at any point, any of these positions feel uncomfortable for you, just take care of yourself and move back to something that does feel more supportive for you. One last breath here, softening and filling with air. And then slowly bring yourself up to a tall spine. We're going to do our side bends and twists next. So we'll start actually with the twist because we'll do that in a seated position. So come on up to a seated if you're not there already. Seated on a pillow, if that works for you, or a chair. All right. So for the twist, we're simply going into a little bit of a twist in the spine. So thinking again, the rib cage, because we're working on the 3D breath of the rib cage, is twisting a little bit towards one knee. Your head and neck can be wherever it feels comfortable for you, able to keep the spine long, and your hands can be a place that you feel you can keep the shoulders relaxed. And I just like to encourage that twist by bringing the hand across. So my left hand across towards my right knee as I twist to the right. And then staying with as tall a spine as you can manage. Sitting bones, heavy. And then breathing here. So now we're twisted in the side, we're twisted across the back and the front, all around the diaphragm, the lower part of the rib cage. But you may feel it a little more around the side or the back. With a soft gaze or closed eyes, tune into your breath. Invite your inhale in, really trying to fill up gently, and then exhale. Maybe trying a longer exhale than you normally would, and just see what you feel happening around the rib cage, what sensations arise or feelings arise. And then as you inhale, what do you feel as your rib cage expands in 3 dimensions? One more inhale and exhale. And then bring yourself back to center. If you like, you could change the cross of your legs so that we're mixing it up for the hips. And then same thing on the other side. So noticing if there's a difference from side to side. Again, just thinking rib cage turns, and you might feel the shoulders want to, again, do the work. Keep it super gentle. It doesn't need to be a deep twist. Where can you keep the shoulders soft, the spine tall? And then maybe a little softening of the gaze or closing of the eyes. And then as you puff up with breath, what do you feel around your rib cage? And then as you exhale all the breath from your lungs, or most of the breath from your lungs, the air, what do you feel changing around your rib cage? And take the time to tune into your body. And just a reminder, you can always go back to a supportive position at any point and just breathe if this doesn't feel good for you. Or if it doesn't feel appropriate for you, it might not feel good. It might be challenging. Couple more breaths here. Inhale, invite and expand. Exhale, soften around your torso, staying tall in the spine. One more inhale and exhale with soft shoulders. And then come on back through center. All right, we're going to go into our side bend. So generally, it is done. The easiest position to get into is with a hand on the floor, and then you're leaning over. So you're lengthening one side of your torso, and the other side is compressing a little bit. Other options here are to have your hand on a chair or a stool if you don't want to have it all the way down. You don't have to go too far, right? You could have your hand on your knee instead. Another option is leaning over a pillow. If you prefer to lie down and it's comfortable, you could lean over a pillow or a towel and support your head and your hand so that you're a little more supported in the torso. This could be a little more relaxing, or it could not. So on this side, I'm gonna go down onto my side. Choose your own adventure. And just notice how your shoulders, so you want everything to feel supported here. So you might need a pillow or something underneath your head as well. All right, so you're in your side bend. And if it's comfortable, you could have your hand on the lengthened side as a little bit of feedback, a little bit of pressure there, so that as you inhale, your body has something to expand into. And then as you exhale, it has something to soften into. But if that doesn't feel good for the shoulder, then you just relax your arm down anywhere it feels comfortable. Again, soften your eyes. Soften your gaze, or close your eyes, or soften your eyes, or close your gaze. Inhale and feel on that elongated side, maybe a little more length as you inhale. As you exhale, soften. The muscles are already in a slightly elongated position, so you might feel a little more stretch or something going on there, some kind of sensation. Just notice what the sensation is. Trying not to judge. And then checking in with the head and the shoulders. So if you're seated, or any position really, feel free to move your head so that your neck feels comfortable and supported. And we'll do another couple of breaths here. And softening down as you exhale. Inhale. Expand. And let your belly rise and fall. We're not doing anything super strenuous, so it doesn't have to be a super deep breath. And let it be gentle. And you can quietly open your eyes. And we'll go over to the other side and do a few rounds of breath there. I'm going to sit up for the next one, moving carefully. Be aware and move as slowly as you need to coming out. So if you're on your side, you could just roll over to the other side or change position. I'm going to place my hand on the floor on this side. When you're ready, on your other side, softening the gaze, closing the eyes, adjusting where your head needs to be. And then again, you could use your hand as a little extra pressure. Notice if it feels different on this side from the other side. Notice if the shoulders and neck want to work a little harder on this side versus the other side. Tuning in. Inhale, expand, and exhale, soften. 2 more. And when you're ready, slowly bringing yourself out of that position. All right, our last position is an upper back extension. So one option is, again, in a seated position. As you know, we're going to hold it for a bit. So it could be a seated position and you're just staying extended in the upper back. You could have your hands on your chest. Tends to get into the neck a little more easily. So for this one, I prefer a pillow or a towel underneath your upper back. And you might need a little pillow for your head too, depending on how your neck is. So it can be a very low, a low roll for your back. You want to make sure your head is resting somewhere. Legs can be straight or knees bent. You're going to feel your throat is open and your shoulders can relax down. Arms can be wherever is comfortable. Again, if this doesn't work for you, then just your straight spine, your comfortable spine is a great option directly onto your mat. Once you've found your position, closing your eyes or softening your gaze again. And now the front of the body is lengthened and open, and the back of the body is a little more compressed. Notice how you feel in the sides of the ribs. As your breath moves in and out through your nose, what do you feel around the rib cage? Can you soften down? Let your belly lift. If you have your hands on the front of your ribs, can you feel slight, gentle movement underneath your fingers? Maybe you feel the sides of the ribs expanding into your hands. And maybe now that we've moved through a few different positions, things are a little looser around the rib cage. But not so loose where subluxing or dislocating. It's all about noticing, softening. One more round of breath. And then when you're ready, quietly roll yourself to the side or come back up to a seated position. Take your time. And we'll be in a seated position for a few minutes as we're doing a little self-massage for the vagus nerve area. So if you need a little something to sit on, you're going to grab that. And then once you've found your comfortable spot, bring your hands on your knees. And let's check in with the body. Notice your breath again in this more neutral spine. Do you feel anything shifted? Good. All right, for our vagus nerve exercise, we're going to do a little self-massage with the shoulder. So if possible, you want to be able to get your hand as close in to your skin as you can, but you can definitely go over the on top of the clothes, obviously, if that's all you have at the moment. So you're going to take one hand and reach it as far over your shoulder as your other shoulder and neck will allow. And then you're pulling the skin from the back. You're pulling your fingers over your shoulder and down to your collarbone. So you're reaching over and then pulling with as little or as much pressure as you feel comfortable with. Let's do a couple more on this side. Again, you can close your eyes and breathe. Maybe using 3 fingers Pulling right to the center. Going as slowly or as quickly as feels good. And then when you're done on one side, same thing on the other side, reaching over and then pulling across the top of those shoulders. All those hardworking muscles. Maybe playing or exploring a breath pattern. How does it feel if you exhale as you pull forward? And then how does it feel if you inhale as you pull over? Is there one that feels more supportive for you or appropriate for you in this moment? Let's make this the last one. And then pause. Check in for a moment. We're going to do one more vagus nerve massage. Again, single arm, but this time you're going from your collarbone, the top of your collarbone from your shoulder, and pulling the tissues that are just above the collarbone right to the center. Gently pulling across and in to the center. We'll do a few more. Drawing energy from the shoulders right to our heart. When you're done on one side, moving to the other side. Starting right at the shoulder, kind of as far up as you can get, the end of the collarbone, and then pulling across with a few fingers. Again, exploring with the breath, if that's something you enjoy or is useful. Last one. And again, pause. Check in. Okay. All right, from here, come onto your hands and your knees. Support yourself as you need. If you need to roll up your mat to support the wrist a little bit, go for that. Or have a wedge. You'll have your hands underneath your shoulders or a little wider than your shoulders if you tend to be pretty tight in the front of the shoulders. You want the back of the neck to be long, so you're looking down just in front of your fingers. And all we're going to do here is keeping our backs in a comfortable position. We're just going to rock back and then rock forward again, however far your wrists feel comfortable with here. You can always make fists. For some people, that's more supportive for the wrists. And then feel free to change it up as well. As you go back, you're just softening into the hips and then coming back to a center position. So as you go back, you might feel your butt wants to round under. You're going to try and keep your back, your lower back, still and flat. And then breathing here. Last two. And last one. Good. And then walk your hands a little closer in. right underneath your shoulders or even a little bit closer. And we're going to do a paw lift here. Focus on maintaining soft elbows, but feeling connected in the shoulders, a little lifted in the upper back even. And then bend your right elbow and float your hand a little bit off the floor and then place that down. Same thing on the other side. A little float and then down. You're trying as you go from side to side to stay pretty centered and not have a big shift of weight from side to side. So there'll be some core work, definitely some arm work as well. We'll just see, again, what do you feel here? You exhale, draw in through the center, hugging, allowing the muscles to hug your torso. And we'll do one more each side. Notice if one arm or shoulder feels different than the other. And if you want more challenge, you could have the hands a little bit wider. Or maybe that's a little bit easier for you, depending on your body. So it's nice to try with hands a little wider too. And then from here, you're going to sit back onto your heels. Whatever your comfortable child's pose is, remember you can always have a bolster or a pillow underneath. And then you'll walk your hands off to the side, the right side of your mat, and then rest your head down or rest your head on something. You'll be in a slight side bend here. Tune into your breath. Inhale, feel your back expand and lengthen. Exhale, melt into the earth. Inhale, maybe feel the back of your shoulders puff up. And exhale, soften down. One more breath here. And then walk your hands over to the other side, your head over to the other side. Turn around. And let your arms soften into the floor if they can. And again, allow space in your back. And sink down to the floor. Notice how your shoulders and your spine feel with your arms in the other direction. And when you're ready, walk yourself back to center. And then come back up, slowly bringing yourself up to a tall spine. And we'll finish class there for today. And I'll see you next time.